listening to The Bright Side with Brian Crew podcast. Close your eyes. Unless you're driving. And listen to Brian discuss a wide range of topics. And accept the challenge that no matter what, you must find the bright side.
Welcome to The Bright Side with Brian Crew. Me. Pretty excited. Episode 1, Proving the Paranormal. Quick disclaimer, I don't want anyone to sit through a podcast that has a deceiving title. We don't prove the paranormal on this podcast. We're discussing the concept of proving the paranormal, what that would entail, why we think it's important. And we're also discussing a documentary that inspired us to do this podcast because it seemed to prove the paranormal, but yeah, we'll get there. I want to talk about my co-hosts. Noush, one of my best friends for way too long. He's one of the few people that hasn't left my side. Not sure why. We're looking to get him tested pretty soon to figure out if there's something wrong. We got Cricket. Cricket, you know, I've known him since he was a small child. I held him in my arms when he was about 5'10" and asked him, "Do you like girls?" And his response to that was a resounding, yeah, don't you know? Then, yeah, those are my main co-hosts. But we're also going to talk to Christoph. And as you may or may not have read on the website, he's a little bit eccentric. I think he might be toned down on this podcast a little bit, but don't worry, folks. By episode 10, I'll get him in full force. And then, of course, still don't know if we're going to go by a code name for her or not. But for right now, we'll call her B. And she is someone who really impacted my life, someone who has helped and saved me more times than I can count, someone who inspired me a lot. And in a lot of ways, we are so similar, it's eerie, with some interesting differences, of course. But she's one of the few people that can challenge me and I really am almost defenseless against. I've fought back against her many times and lost handsomely. So yeah, we're gonna have all these important friends jumping in on this, with very different ways of thinking and very different presentations. And the only thing that we agree on, is the way we interact with each other and the way we joke around and the way our minds explore things. And I think all of us being friends and all of us talking about things makes our minds open more, and it gets us closer and closer to the truth. And that's why we're here, because I hope that by listening to this and starting a dialogue with us, because we want to talk to you, everyone listening, we want you guys to interact with us. We hope that we all can open our minds a bit, and we hope that we can all discover more truth in life. So that's the fucking mission, if you should choose to accept it. If so, don't touch that dial. Don't do anything. And if not, thanks for listening. Take care. Bye-bye then. Yeah. And boom goes the dynamite. Oh, well, looks like we got Cricket here. Oh, wow. You're in the dark like a fucking creep. you look like Ted Kaczynski right now. What are you doing? There it is. There he is. Yeah. Well, don't you look handsome?
Buddy. Wow. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Just can't fucking see you because you're lurking in the dark. You're looking for a lamp. A lamp. Little. God, what the fuck are you doing?
Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now.
Hey, there he is.
They always join you in these meetings, muted, and then you got to figure out how to unmute it.
Oh, I know. Well, I'm glad I can actually see you, Noosh. I would just love if I could fucking see Cricket, but
Hold on.
he's fucking lurking in the dark over there. It's making me uncomfortable.
Oh, there he is. Big, beautiful
Wait, can you hear-
face. No, we can hear you.
Yeah. Are those actual like headphones or are they like sound suppressors?
What are you talking about? These things they're blue Yetis.
I'm just making sure. They say task them.
Task
So wow. Wow. All right. So here's the thing. I have to go.
Okay, see you. Bye.
So we're going to start with mentioning that episode 2 is going to be about time travel.
Time travel.
Episode 3, Trace, is going to be about reality and questioning reality, postulating, if you will, whether or not reality is real. On to what we're doing today. Episode uno, the Blackwell Ghost. But there's a colon after that episode title. This is about proving the paranormal. The idea here is that we saw this documentary.
Documentary.
It sounds more like George W. Bush. Documentary.
Documentary.
Yeah, we had a call in the military for the documentary. But no, we were all enticed to watch this documentary on Amazon Prime Video. Episode 1 grabs you by the pulls you in. You know, you watch episode 1 and you think, or no, not even episode 1, it was movie 1, wasn't it? It was a whole fucking film.
Right.
Yeah.
Our feature.
Yeah.
Each one's about an hour.
Yeah. So you watch it and you go, oh man, what is this? This seems like he might actually be getting somewhere proving the existence of ghosts. Then it's just done. You know, then Cricket over here is like, oh, you have to watch all 6. And I'm like, oh my God. And you gotta buy them. Okay, cool. Buy them all, watch them all. I get done and I'm like, what the fuck, man? What the fuck? I almost was starting to wonder if maybe Cricket worked for like the promotional company and just kind of suckered me into buying it.
All right.
But
You gotta watch this.
yeah, but you have to watch all 6 and pay for 5 of them. Okay. The biggest problem is that you know we're going to each discuss, you know, what was convincing to us and what really made us, you know, wonder what the F are we watching. But the one thing I will say is, for a fake documentary, it's well done. It's suspenseful. There's moments that invoke fear. Sorry, the guy himself, you know, did a good job acting. I'll give him that.
Oh yeah.
But what ups? Okay, motorcycle, can you shut the fuck up? It's nighttime. I have to make everyone know I have a tiny penis.
We.
Please, real quick, no offense to any viewer out there who rides a motorcycle. I'm sure you have a big ass dick that's just swinging in the wind. But but that guy I question. Um, so yeah, so the main thing that upsets me is that there is no way for any one of us to say, here's where I can go to see a legitimate documentary about the paranormal that shows proof. Then you don't have to sit back and go, was that fake? And then, or a documentary where if you as a believer could watch it and say, wow, that was really, incredible evidence. And then the person next to you wouldn't react going, oh, please, so phony. So this is kind of a call to action episode where we think that somebody, if not us, needs to make one with definitive evidence that can be proven and proven and proven beyond a reasonable doubt. And that films like this, if they're not labeled fiction, are kind of a disservice. So that's the main gist of what we're doing today. A couple questions that we like to ask in our opening statement is, why is this topic important? Well, if ghosts are real and there's full-on proof of it that we can show, would that make every aspect of life just seem like a little bit less ridiculous? Like, if you're like, oh man, I gotta get to my job at Walmart, but like knowing that there's a paranormal world out there, doesn't that kind of change the level of importance of everything? When you're saving up the money to buy that Porsche, but there's a dimension of evil or a dimension of spirits that have moved on that exist, doesn't that kind of change the value of things a little bit? So that's why I think it's important. And why should we talk about it? Because I think most people are comfortable just pretending that this whole world doesn't exist or that it doesn't matter, but it does. And real quick, what does the general public believe? I think the general public doesn't want to think about it. I think they're curious, but they're afraid that if they think too hard about it, they'll be left with more questions. And that's where we come in. So first off, I'm gonna hand this over to, I'm gonna let Noush go first here. So Noush, essentially, like, let me know what you saw you can blanket the whole thing, 1 through 6, Blackwell Ghost. What had you believing it for a moment? What stood out to you as, oh, come on, this is bullshit? And how do you feel about it?
Well, I'll answer those in no particular order.
I prefer you go in the order I asked, but go ahead.
The things that when I was watching it, when you first look for something, you want to watch, it's like, wow, there's so much shit out here. All of it I've seen, once or twice, and there's a lot of movies out there I just, just don't want to watch, but looking for something to draw you in. And so, here's this Blackwell series, and that's what drew me in, was that there were 6. So, if it was 1, then it's like, okay, well, it started, but we're never going to know what happens. But this one had 6, so I thought, well, if it was good enough to make once, he did it 6 times. So, so I watched the first one, and I thought to myself, I'm always on the fence. This is somewhat weird because I've never seen something like this where voices were muffled or digitized or whatever you want to call it, and then faces and just things that if it was public is now redacted or whatever. It's like, if it's in the newspaper, then why are you redacting it? So outside of that, it's always questionable what you see on there. I mean, a lot of that stuff, from the video camera, that little fireplace video camera that took that initial, well, that was the second one, wasn't it? No, that was the first one.
That was the Florida one, wasn't it? Oh, no,
No,
that was the first one. That was the first one.
Right.
Yeah, it was the first one.
There was no clear separation between the two, but it's like, okay, it looks like it's on a time switch, and that's the first thing I see is, what's that box? Oh, the light turns on. Oh,
Yeah.
but you know, the selling factor in that was is you're supposed to see this, you know, this ooze going across the screen, this like little digital ghost, you know, in the background. All right, well, that doesn't drop my panties, but it's fascinating. But you know, as he can, you know, you go through the story some more and it develops, you know, the thing that is really interesting is the basement. It is a creepy basement.
Yeah.
Not just for what's down there, but just the walls, the lighting, you know, it's the different coloration on the floor next to the sewer pipe there or whatever.
Yeah.
But he has good film, whatever you call it. You know, he's good in front of the camera. He's got good character in there. You know, he keeps
Yeah.
you interested, but there's always something, you know, it's like, let me watch the next one.
Yeah.
And then you go further into the story and further into the story, and you're like, some of the things he does, like taking off from from his little airport and then landing again, and then saying he lands, you know, takes off from A and lands in point B. We really don't know if he took off from where he said he did. You know, it's like, you know, deception. And then you go further into the series, you know, with down in Florida. If this was such a momentous moment, how come it's not in the papers? You know,
Right. And some people could argue, like, well, the media is not going to report on such things. But the reality is, you know, not to spoil anything about, you know, the films, but there are some pretty criminal things that are discovered that, regardless of papers not wanting to print something about ghosts and paranormal, they would definitely print about murderous bodies found, things like that. So
right.
that's what Noush is referring to here, that like there are things that would have to be reported at some point. But go on.
So, you know, it's just going through all that. Oh, well, you know, when he's doing his research, saying, well, you know, I found this, it's not too hard to find, but you really got to look. And yet you go in and look and you can't find anything because there's nothing there to find. You know, and then, you know, if we go back a little bit, the other thing that really irritated me was, hey, you know, he'd show up with this new, you know, scratch and sniff, speak and spell, where you got to breathe hot breath on it for it to for it to speak a letter, you know. It's
Yeah,
like, well, how'd you make it?
the speak and spell device was ridiculous, you know, like KILL. It's like, all right, we get it. Yeah. And the worst part was that it didn't even like spell out anything correctly. And then he had to like decipher code. And it's like, guy, now all of a sudden you're like the guy finding the Zodiac killer. Like, get out of here. Let's just rope
I
in that
know.
bullshit a little bit there, Turner Clay. But go on.
Turd clay. So
Turner Clay. Yep.
I mean, it was just fascinating. You know, he took the time to think it through. You know, he made it as believable as he could, you know, with all this found footage and, you know, interjected documents and people showing up in the middle. Who in the hell really shows up in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. to drop off a package? Just mail it,
Yeah, seriously.
you know. And if you want to drop it off, then have somebody drop it off for you. You know, you can pay couriers to do that, but just just real odd things. It just doesn't line up in there. And then, you know, the interactions down in Florida. Try piecing that together. You know, it's okay. Well, how can you go to this house and say you've looked all through it, closets and everything, and you didn't notice the fucking hole? You
Yeah.
know, you didn't notice these other things. And
Well,
you know, the item. What's that?
supposedly the hole is made in
As
that.
the pounding.
Yeah, like he finally. Well, from what we're.
No, he Didn't
understand.
he put the hole in?
Well, I'm sure he did.
No, I'm saying like he hit it with a hammer after a period of time.
You mean
No, the hole was there. He just took the hammer to dig it.
Oh, to
He
dig at the
needed to
bottom.
get what
I
he
see what you
needed
mean.
was at the bottom of the hole.
Yeah,
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
That's
The
right.
hole in the top corner, that's what he discovered.
I think they were alluding to that hole had been there from the killer,
Mm.
and it was just blocked by a bunch of towels. But
Oh,
yeah, I because every time they showed the closet open, again, I don't want to give too much away in case he wants to make more money off people.
No, I just give it away.
Okay.
Listening to this, we're going through it. This is deep dive analysis. We're not
yeah, save people the time of watching it.
Yeah, true.
just
And they'll probably watch it anyway because we're talking about it. So.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But anyway, yeah, every time they showed it, it was filled up with like towels and blankets, and that's yeah. So I think that was the whole point, is that after fucking what probably in reality, in his version of reality, would have been like 2 weeks of being there and dealing with shit, he finally was like, well, let me fucking take the shit out of the closet and take a look. Wow, that would have been the first fucking thing I did, man. Like,
Yeah.
But anyway,
I mean, don't you look in every crevice if
Yeah.
you're trying to solve something? Like, where's the clues?
exactly.
He just goes in, sits down, farts on the couch.
Yeah,
I'm here.
and he's scared. He's just sitting on the couch and he's just like this. It's like boom, something happens. Okay, so things are happening again. And it's just like then every now and then he's just like, I gotta get out of here. And it's just like, what is the point if you're gonna run?
Right.
Also, why are you alone every time? Like, bring somebody.
That's because you can't have other people see the fabrication.
Give me the flag of 10 minutes. So
Oh, okay. Oh, free version.
Well, how much
Yeah.
time do I got?
Well, now, since you had to ask, about 9 minutes and 30 seconds. So,
I only have 30 seconds.
no, 9 minutes. God, listen, not
Oh.
9 minutes. And now you got 9 minutes flat. So, all right. So, Cricket, it's your turn. What about it? I'm gonna take a long time to ask the question so that you only have 7 minutes to answer.
God damn it.
No, so what about it made you go, oh wow, this could be real? What about it made you say, I don't know about this? And how do you feel about it overall inside?
Well, what really caught my eye about it was,
And we're out of time.
God damn it.
No, I'm kidding. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Because I remember watching a YouTube video not too long ago. It was a couple years ago, and it was a video of this guy hearing a noise from a hotel room, and it was like this screeching noise. And over the radio, the guy was like, "Hey, don't go in there. Police are on their way. Just stay right there." And he's like, "Well, I think someone's in there. I'm gonna go in and check it out." So he goes in and he checks it out, and as he's walking in, a figure comes out of the door on the camera, and it looks like there's something in the shot, in the camera.
Yeah.
And supposedly that same guy is Turner Clay, supposedly, from what we understood.
Yeah.
He's the one that orchestrated that shot, but we didn't find that out until a little later. But that particular scene is what got me into the show in the beginning, because I related to that scene. I'm like, oh, I know that scene. I've seen that before. And somehow he contacted that guy from there, and that's what got him involved in the ghost hunting. And I was like, okay, I can wrap my head around this, like he's interested, he's a filmmaker, so he'll get into it, and maybe he'll do due diligence to actually do what he set out to do, and that was to prove that ghosts are real. And in the first episode, it kind of set it up just to do that. Went to this house in supposed PA, and it was in PA, right?
Yeah.
And the only reason he found this house is because coincidentally it was almost like a similar type of ghost that he found on the internet. and it was kind of like just the light turned on and then a ghost walked by, and then that was it. So it attracted him to the house and whatever. So his process and how he does stuff is it's inviting. You know, in the first episode it was good. You know, it kind of got me in. It's like, okay, all right, I can see this, but there's still some things that kind of like, okay, well, where's all your equipment? You know, like EMF reader. That's like a given right there. You know, EMF to prove that there's something there. You know, scientifically, so people can see that. You know, it's just there's a lot of data points that we're missing that I would think any normal ghost hunter would have in their arsenal. You know, but then again, he did have a crap ton of cameras. It's just some of those cameras, like I would have liked to have seen, like when the light switch turns on, or like the ball that went down into the basement. Why did he had a camera on top of that dehumidifier, and it was pointed right at that thing when that ball was on there. I remember that.
Right.
So why didn't he show that shot of the ball climbing up on the sewer top there, the drain top, or the well top, whatever? Why didn't he show that? You know, that to me would have been like, how is a ball doing this? You know,
Yeah.
so it's just stuff like that. And then after the third episode, he doesn't even go back to that house. So it's no longer dealing with Blackwell. We're dealing with a whole nother ghost. So that there's but all in all, I mean, it was entertaining, like you said. I mean, I found it entertaining. I got into it. I watched it. I watched it twice. And because the second time I watched it, that's when I started picking up some like BS. Like, okay, wait a minute here. There's some things don't add up. You know, why would he do that? You know, uh, what would prompt him? Okay, the end of when he was done with that Blackwell house, for some reason, which really irked me, was while you know at the end he was like, I feel like I've made a friend
Yeah.
or something like that. I'm like, what
Yeah.
at all in your time there made you think that this thing was friendly? You know, that makes no sense. That
Well,
thing seemed very hostile to me, you know.
and,
Um,
and
or at least,
also,
yeah,
also it's like, you know, so like first of all, the murders occurred. So either the ghost is the ghost of the killer, who's certainly not going to be nice, or it's the ghost of a bunch of like murdered children that were like tossed down into a goddamn drainage sewer. Like,
right.
why did this thing become your friend? What did you do
Right.
for it that became your friend? Because it didn't kill you? Because it played ball with you? Yeah, it was a weird statement. You're going, what the hell does that mean? And
Right.
and
Yeah.
and I think it was just a way to segue into the next film. So yeah.
Right. I mean, I get that. I just didn't understand his mentality, and that made me think this guy doesn't know what the hell he's doing. He doesn't know what he's dealing with. You know, when you're dealing with the supernatural, this isn't fun and games. You know, this is some serious stuff. It could affect your life long term. So when you're dealing with things like these, you have to take them serious. And it
Yeah.
just it's not, it's almost like he was just poking the bear, you know, like just wanting something to happen just for it to happen, you know. And you know, some people want to do that. I guess that's fine for them, I guess. But um it just, when he got to the next house, there were some spooky moments in there, you know.
Yeah.
Like when you actually see the figure in the window, that was freaky.
Yeah.
That
Oh
scared,
yeah.
because his reactions seemed very genuine to me. Like, ooh, you know, like he was getting up all shaky and stuff, and then he ran out the door. But um
Which also, why would you run out the door if the fucking thing is right outside the
I
window?
know,
I
pretty
feel
is.
like I'd be safer inside, I think, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, why run outside to it?
Well, the other thing is okay, it's very clever, this puzzle that he discovered. with the alphabet and the coding and
It's
the
called
message.
Scrabble.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I mean, it was clever. It was like unique. I was like, oh, okay. And coincidentally, he solves this murder, and like you said, if something that big, monumental, like a guy came in and solved a murder mystery after so many years because he was doing a ghost, like that, to me, would give him all the publicity that he would ever need for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
If he could prove that, but
Yeah.
but you can't even find any of it.
Nope.
You can't find any evidence of it. Hell,
Nope.
even his Facebook page, you can't even scroll back. It's like it's empty.
Yeah.
I can't verify. I need to verify, in order to validate. So
Yeah, 30 seconds, Dan. Wrap it up.
oh goddamn. So yeah, but it was entertaining,
Okay.
It was entertaining.
Well, now what we're going to do is we're going to take a little pause here, and we'll be back after these messages.
You're not really gonna say that, are you?
I already did. Yeah.
That's so 90s.
I'll be right back.
So yeah, we got Christoph, the madman himself, who's going to step in here and talk a little bit about his thoughts on the paranormal. He didn't watch the documentary, but I want everyone to be heard from, everyone in my group, because everybody has a different take, everybody has a different feel, and I think it's important to kind of consider all of it, kind of not just have this myopic point of view thrown at you the entire time. So yeah, we're gonna get him on. I mean, as smart as he is, let's see if he can figure out how to fucking work this. He'll probably say, Zoom, I don't know how to work that. Observation. This requires things that I don't have. You do have a camera. You do have a phone. You can make it work. Thinking about, should I? Oh, wow. I see Christoph's there he is. There he is. He's like, hold on.
There we go.
I hear him. There he is. There's my buddy. What's up, man?
Life is good.
Yeah, that's the face of a man in love right there, folks. But
yes, it is.
I like how it pointed down at his crotch for a moment.
Trying to figure out how to set this damn freaking.
Just as I said, the face of a man in love, it points at your crotch. That's well or ill-timed.
Completely coincidental, I swear.
He used to be the master of the master of bait, but not anymore. All right. So, Christoph, my friend.
Yeah, sir.
So yeah, we had Noush, we had Cricket, and we discussed a documentary that was not a real documentary, but was trying to pass itself off as one, to prove
There's a lot of those.
Oh, I know. To prove the existence of Ghost.
There's even more of those.
Yeah. And, kind of the key points, just to surmise here, is that we were trying to say that, it's kind of irresponsible to label it as a documentary. And more so, we'd like a distinction, like put that it's fiction, make sure people understand that. And then on the other hand, if you are going to hunt for ghosts and try to prove their existence, do so, and then do so with as much science and lie detecting and everything you can to possibly back up your claims.
Oh yeah, throw the whole freaking warehouse full of detection equipment at it. I want to know what color quarks are in the air.
Exactly. So that was the main point we made. And I, as I just said before you got on, I I didn't have you watch the documentary. I really don't need you to.
Probably not.
He doesn't need any more viewers.
Hmm.
You know, we already had 3 of us idiots that paid to watch it. So
Paid?
yeah, it was the whole thing. But anyway,
red flag number 1.
I know.
In this age of the internet, red flag number 1.
So speaking of number 1, this is episode 1. This is the first time for your segment, Christoph's Corner. This is where,
boy.
Yeah, it's a corner. It could be round if you want it to be. If you want to just keep going around and around with it. But mainly, the point of this is for you to give your alternate view. You know, so we're spending the whole episode talking about, you know, the importance of proving the paranormal and what it means to us. So tell me your view on the paranormal.
I'd love to be wrong. I have seen absolutely no credible evidence backing the paranormal that cannot be explained as one of 2 things: wishful thinking and things we haven't figured out yet.
Okay. Any real quick, any theories on things we haven't figured out yet that it could be?
No, that's above my pay grade. But given the sheer quantity of things that we have that can explain the paranormal, the category of things we haven't explained yet is getting smaller daily.
Mm-hmm.
Like, once upon a time, a solar or lunar eclipse was a paranormal event.
Oh yeah.
Like, we have a written recording, not sure whether it was written in a saga or actually carved into a runestone, of, you know, all of Norway howling at the sun as it disappeared behind the moon's shadow to make Fenrir Wolf vomit it back up.
Did it work?
Which it did. Oh yeah, it worked. Orbital mechanics says it had to. You know, but they didn't understand what orbital mechanics were. You know, and something else that was pointed out to me in an article, or by an article, or it might have just been a random comment from a similarly skeptical individual on Discord, that, you know, it's really kind of, you know, eerily amazing and appropriate that spiritism and seances and spirit channelers and, you know, messages from the other side really took off and really gained popularity and credibility right around the time we were lighting our homes with natural gas. Not heating, like illuminating. You know, all that wonderful, lovely, odorless, tasteless carbon monoxide making things all that much more unreal. And that's just the start of it. 3 people I've had look me in the eye after describing classic night hag syndrome events. You know, I felt a weight on my chest. I felt a foreboding, dark presence at the foot of my bed. I couldn't move. I could breathe, but I couldn't move anything but my eyes. I was terrified. I was, you know, awake and sensate, but couldn't do anything about it. 100% like down the freaking checklist of night hag syndrome symptoms, like ticked every box. And I showed them the list that they just ticked off. And they went, yeah, no, it had to be something else. That was definitely my dead great grandmother or something.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
well, Chris, she was very heavy and she had a tendency to crawl into bed with strangers. So
let's not bring your family history into this, okay?
I don't have a family in it, and I certainly don't have a history. So,
right, byproduct of the quick cloning process. My apologies. Anyway.
Well, you were the scientist behind it, so yeah.
No, I wasn't. The court said I wasn't.
Yeah, because they're always right. Yeah. There's no innocent people in prison. No.
We've never killed an innocent man in the name of justice.
No. Who's justice?
I'm
justice.
No, you are Batman.
Oh. I like the name Justice better.
And one of the things that just frustrates me is people have made up their minds about the supernatural before you talk to them about it. Like, if somebody believes, and it's not necessarily just a yes-no dichotomy, it is just a series of flowchart branches where, is supernatural possible? Yes, no. Yes, if yes, continue.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. So is supernatural possible in the personal sense? As in, can you personally be affected by it? They have made the decision as to whether or not the supernatural exists and in what form it exists before they even talk to you about it.
Yeah.
They're simply looking for you to agree or disagree with them so they can then tell you why you're wrong.
Yeah.
Like there's and believers are just as guilty of this as skeptics.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's the other thing that really drives me up a wall. Is like
habitual skeptics, we should say, not like they're like you're a good form of skeptical. You're not like just I'm skeptic of every fucking thing there is just to be combative. Like that's
no, I'm what state is that? Missouri skeptic. Show me.
Yeah.
Is Missouri the show me state? You know what I mean.
It was.
Anybody from that state, feel free to not contact me and correct me.
No, it was when I was there. Don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cruising right past that one. That's the other thing that drives me up a wall is that the skeptics are looking for. They're not even looking for evidence for or against. They're looking for a flaw in the argument that you can jump on. And their whole argumentative tactic strategy is comes down to repurposed Gish Gallop, where they infuriate you and they pummel you with wrong statements or statements that are just against what your position is so rapidly that you can't address them. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, that's cheating. Fuck you, jump off a cliff.
Yeah.
But like, if you want to sit down and analyze, well, this happened, supposed spirit activity, what other things could have caused this? Could have been this, could have been this, could have been this, could have been this. Now you got some credibility.
Yeah.
Like the real world is not black and white. The real world is not, yes, no, Boolean gates. It is complicated. You have the universe's quantum wave function decohering right in front of you constantly. It's messy.
Yeah.
And could there be hiccups? Could there be random events that you have no context for, literal outside of context problems or occurrences? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, in higher pay grades, they call those things opportunities, like the oh my god particle. A proton, a solitary single proton that slammed into a detector, moving as fast as we have ever detected a massed particle moving, 99.99999951, I believe it was, percent the speed of light. A proton that was carrying the kinetic energy of a softball pitch. That is what's called an outside of context event.
Yeah.
Because there was literally zero precedent for such a thing to occur. Theory? Yes. Yeah, they thought maybe it could. Had they ever observed it? No, till then.
Let me ask you this. So
Yes.
have you experienced anything that you couldn't, really narrow down exactly what it was, what its origin was, enough that you were almost tempted to call it possibly paranormal, but then you just kind of said to yourself, like, well, there are other explanations that I'm just not thinking of at the moment?
Yes. However, later experiences provided answers for all of them.
Can you give us like the most, the biggest one you can think of in a Cliff's Notes version?
Well, the first one that popped into my head when you said that was 8 years old. Literally shadowy figure, like just like moving between two apartment buildings.
Okay.
In the complex that I lived in.
Mm-hmm.
Through my bedroom window. Now, my bedroom window was on the second floor, and the shadowy figure was at a distance. And yeah, the explanation actually turned out to be I needed freaking glasses. This was years before I got my glasses.
Okay.
So my, visual resolution was crap. And said shadowy figure was probably just wearing a hoodie or something.
Okay.
Other than that, I mean, a whole lot of coincidences, a couple of waking dreams, cusp dreams.
Yeah.
And the odd auditory hallucination, but yeah, that's really it.
Okay.
Like thought I heard sort of things.
One of the other things that we discussed a bit with the other gents is the time we went to Penhurst and the snooping around we did, the playing around we did, but ultimately everybody kind of came back with some sort of experience, with the exception of you, as far as I know, and Jason, who was playing Pokemon Go most of the time. So
really,
yeah, really, there's footage of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need a new apprentice.
Thought we fired him months ago.
No, we did. Yeah. He'll be around, but yeah. So actually,
the firing probably would mean more if we ever paid him.
Exactly. So actually, what's really funny is that Cricket on this podcast just told me for the first time something he experienced, and I'm like, dude, it was 6 years ago. Why didn't you say something then? And he's like, oh, I'm pretty sure I did. I'm pretty sure I did. And I'm like,
no,
I would remember that.
Yeah,
I would absolutely remember what you just told me. Noush, and Noush is going to watch this part of the episode and go, no. But Noush made it seem like he didn't really have an experience, but I definitely recall you know, his feelings that day. I myself had a bit of experience, but I'm curious, did you happen to have any experience that you hadn't shared there? Anything that kind of seemed wonky to you?
No, just it was an experience. It was fun, but yeah, no, it was just a derelict ruin.
Okay. So you want to know what Cricket told me?
Hmm.
So Cricket said that at one point when we were on one of the lower floors, when the group got condensed down, and it was you guys had went outside to prep up for the next part, and then it was me, Noosh, and Jacqueline, and he decided to kind of like playfully go into one of the, you know, closets, you know, thinking he was going to try to like fuck with us. And he goes into the closet and he hears "you're gonna die" in his ear. So he thought that like I had swooped in first and done that to him. So he kind of like laughed, opened the door, and turned around, and I wasn't there. And he saw us across the room and was like, yeah. And I was like, dude, why wouldn't you have said something in that moment? We all would have rushed to the damn closet and looked for a speaker, or like investigated the hell out of that, something. I was like, every other claim we investigated, like, come on. But that was interesting.
I cannot imagine him having that happen and not saying something like immediately, like freaking out, like losing his shit.
Well, there was also a little bit of drinking ahead of time, so.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah.
That actually should have made it happen harder, but anyway.
Yeah, no, I don't know. There was definitely a couple swigs of some hard liquor going on at that point of the night. So
you didn't share.
It was for later. It was for later, and all of a sudden he's having some. He's handing it to Noosh. Noosh is having some, and I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa! Like, don't get that animal out of control this early. Like, that's why the whole drive home was so fucking nuts. Because the whole drive home, we were all drinking from the flask. So,
oh boy. Okay.
Yeah. Beyond that, here's the other part of the challenge of all this. Let's say, you know, you don't believe there's going to be this whole revelation of, oh yeah, ghosts, there they are, you know. But let's say it did happen. What would be the bright side of this?
Bright side of specifically ghosts or supernatural in general?
I'll say supernatural in general. I like going more vague on that, just because it could be so many different things we're talking about here.
Bright side of supernatural in general would be definitely that a new branch of study would be open. Very You'd true. Have, you know, it'd be the starting gun for a, you know, whole new unprecedented crop of experts.
Yeah.
And weeding out the should-be Darwin Award winners from the actual experts.
Yeah, true. Would there be any bright side for you personally?
Yeah, more interesting YouTube videos to listen to. Because yeah, you know, I'm just sitting there with the playlist going.
Speaking of which, so as part of every episode, you know, we throw some shout outs out there, some recommendations.
Although I have a question for you now that I think about it.
Go for it. What's up?
So say supernatural gets proven.
Yeah.
That, you know, somebody literally just unzips the air, steps through, and then steps out behind or steps out from behind you, and can do this ad nauseum.
Yeah.
Once it's repeatable, replicatable, formulaic, what separates the supernatural from the natural?
That's a good question. That should be like the end of the episode question right there. It just fades out.
Sorry, jumped ahead in the script.
No, it's a very well said thing right there. I mean, I have no answer to that. Yeah.
Sorry, didn't mean to stump the host of the damn show in the first episode.
No, I mean, that's the point of all this, though. This is why I want to do this, because I feel like so many of these podcasts, they just have these strong, myopic points that they're making. Yeah. And it's just, they're like, ghosts are real and here's my experience. Or they're like, ghosts aren't real and here's why. Supernatural doesn't mean anything, blah, blah, blah. And everything's just, it's almost negative even when it's positive. And that's the whole point of this, is I want to steer it in a direction where it's an open conversation between friends with different lives, different viewpoints, and that we don't quite fit together, but we do because we're able to accept the fact that we're different, and we're able to accept the fact that we can't agree on every damn detail, and that's actually good.
I'm willing to accept that you guys are wrong.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Yeah, I was gonna say until you're leaning real close to me going, so where's the nearest positron collider? Yeah. But yeah, so all right, so one of the other things we do in the show is that we give recommendations. So I wanted to know, is there any shout outs, any recommendations you want to give for favorite song lately, favorite podcast you're listening to, favorite YouTube channel?
Give
me 3.
Okay. One moment. Brain resetting. Buffering. Yeah. Let's see. I've really been revisiting the music of The Sword. Their YouTube channel is actually Sword of Doom Music. They are originally from, I believe, Austin, Texas. I got into them with their first album. Their sound started off like early Sabbath, with the gravity cranked up to about 3 Earth Gs. Just extra heavy. With Norse mythological symbolism in the lyrics. Nice. They have progressed to an interesting mellow classic rock kind of with used future. When that one came out, I was playing Fallout 4 pretty heavily, and it was just like, this is Fallout 4 the album. And very much recommend their music. Ozzy's new album is just, it's Ozzy. So, you're required to listen to it. He's doing songs with freaking Eric Clapton. Where the hell that came from? I never thought those two would be on a track together. And to steer away from the music for the third recommendation, all of the YouTube content hosted by Simon Whistler.
Okay.
He has something like 73 different channels. I wish I was exaggerating as much as I want to be. It's really something like 17, and no, that's not the exaggeration. He has, he started off with a top 10s channel, expanded into Today I Found Out, which is just random factoids, but examined in a little more detail than the top 10s factoids. Then he started doing things like biographics, where he explores different people's lives, geographics, where he just explores
study of
history.
Oh.
He explores the history of a place. Warographics, where he explores all of the circumstances and factors around specific battles or conflicts. Let's see. And then there's this casual channel, Business Blaze. Well, it was Business Blaze, now it's Brain Blaze. It was originally supposed to be about business and riffing on people's bad business decisions. And it just kind of became his meme channel.
Gotcha.
Which, given that in every other channel, more or less, he is like your stock standard stoic British, like BBC news announcer almost, like all professionalism. And then he just totally cuts loose on this channel. It is so much fun.
Nice.
It's like all the energy that all the jokes that he wants to say on other channels, but he can't, he does here.
Nice.
But yeah, like loads of informative and entertaining content. Loads and loads. Like literally, you won't be able to catch up with it. He puts out that much crap.
Very
So
nice.
yeah, there's my 3 recommendations for today.
Sweet. All right. Well, I think we covered this part of the content. There's another small portion that comes right after this. But for now, we could just say we covered that topic. Episode 1 is in the books.
Salud.
So, Sriracha.